Okay, welcome back to Say Yes to You. This is my channel where I will be discussing different topics related to spirituality, personal development, meditation, and offering different processes, tips, and tricks that you can use to start to say yes to you sooner than later. Today, I wanted to talk about Valentine's Day. We're here at the beginning of February, and for some people, it can be so dreadful when Valentine's Day comes back around. So, I'm offering 5 reasons why you could possibly feel some relief in being single for Valentine's Day. I am going to be using my notes here to keep myself on track and kind of flow through things because I am not a fan of the video editing. So hopefully I'll be able to get through this with just one take. So the 5 reasons why you can feel relieved of being single at Valentine's Day. Number 1, the freedom. As a single, you are free to do whatever you wish with your time, with your money, with your attention, and with your affections. We all know that being in a relationship, requires that you invest some of your time, that you invest your attention, that you invest your affections into this other person so that you can both experience that gratification, that feeling of being nourished from the relationship. I would say that if those things are missing, perhaps you actually don't have that much of a relationship. I don't know. Like when I think of a reason to feel happy about not being with, the wrong person, it's like, well, how many expense reports that are not yours are you actually interested in completing? If you're not a sports fan, how many NBA finals can you really sit there and act like you're interested in? The Super Bowl just came up. Who cares? But sometimes, because your partner wants to be doing these things, you will go along with it as a way of compromise. But in the absence of that person, good riddance. Number 2, you can save money from not participating in this Valentine's nonsense. I recently read that the average American spends $161 every Valentine's Day, and it's actually twice that amount for men. Let me ask you, what would you do with an additional $161 or what's the math there? $322. What would you do with that money? What could you do with that money? I would say, put that towards a vacation fund, use it for a spa day, do something to really nurture yourself because you are not spending it on someone for Valentine's Day. Number 3, you're not with them anymore. Now, them could simply mean the person that you broke up with, or even the person who broke up with you. Sometimes people are doing you a favor when they break up with you, but you're not with that person anymore. It's a blessing. It can be a blessing because you're not having to explain what are you doing with him. What do you see in her? I just don't get it. You think they're funny? Their jokes make no sense. So because you're not with that person anymore, your mom didn't even like him. What the hell are you doing? You don't have to explain yourself, and that's one less stressor in your life. You don't have to be with them anymore. Number 4. This is your time. When you're not in a relationship, one thing you could be doing is using that time to really get into yourself, to really nurture yourself and really prepare yourself for that next relationship. You're giving yourself time to heal. Maybe this is your time to work out. Maybe use this time to take a course. Maybe use this time just to do something to prepare yourself. When you are that diamond version of yourself, when you're that elevated version of yourself, you can only attract someone who is on that level. So while you're in between relationships, why not use this time to, get on your game and come out better and stronger. See, number three, you're not with them anymore. They say if you want a different result, you have to do something different. Number five, oh, it's a spoiler alert. Number five, Valentine's is not a real thing. Valentine's Day is not a real thing. I looked up some information about Valentine's, and in Roman times, circa the 3rd century AD, between February 13th and 15th was something called the Feast of Lupercalia. And this is where the man would sacrifice a goat and a dog, then use the hide or the skin of these animals to literally whip women. The women would all line up happily, I guess, to be whipped by these drunken men. In addition, the men would select names of women from a jar, and then the two would happily go off somewhere and hook up. Yuck. Yuck. So I don't know. It's just like my belief that so many so-called holidays are nothing more than money grabs. So when you look at the origins of this so-called holiday, that may or may not be enough for you to opt out. You might be saying to yourself, okay, Peggy, that's cute and all, but I still want a date, or I still want to be in a relationship for Valentine's Day. Okay, fine. I have something for you. What I have is one of the Abraham Hicks processes called pivoting. This pivoting process can help you change your point of attraction. It could be that you find yourself going out with some people that, they're simply not your cup of tea, or the kind of relationships you're finding yourself in. You just want something different. So, like I say, you could do with changing that point of attraction so that you're attracting something that's in vibration with what it is that you want. And you can do that with the pivoting process. And what the pivoting process is addressing is the universal law of polarity. Now, there are some times when we think that we are focused on what it is that we want, but actually your attention is on the opposite of that. If you think of relationships, it seems like it's one topic, but it's actually it's a subject, but there are two sides to that subject. There is, a fantastic relationship, or the lack of things that you would consider a fantastic relationship. So it's just going to be about where your attention is going. And you'll know where your attention really lies by what shows up. So with this pivoting process, you are going to first think about how you feel when you are on the subject of this relationship or the subject of Valentine's Day. How do you feel? If you're feeling crappy, if you're feeling discouraged, well, that's your first indication. So how the pivoting process will help you is noticing that your thoughts are going down a particular road, or noticing, hey, I really feel, crappy. And then you just take a step back and go, well, I'm feeling crappy now. What was I thinking about? Was I thinking about, wow, I'm such a loser because I don't have a relationship, or the guy who asked me out for Valentine's is really not my cup of tea. Ugh, it's hopeless. Think about those things, and you're going to pivot. If you don't know what pivot means, pivot is simply switching directions so that you're looking in another direction. So pivot. Ugh, I'm such a loser. I don't have a date for Valentine's. What's a better feeling thought? A better feeling thought could be something that I mentioned. Well, at least I get to hang out with my girlfriends. Maybe we're going to go, to the movies. We'll go get some margaritas. That's a better feeling thought. As you're thinking about hanging out with your friends or drinking those margaritas, you may find, okay, I actually feel a little bit better. And the reason you feel better is because you've put your thought on something that's more desirable for you. As you continue to pivot away from what's not pleasing to you towards something that is more pleasing, I would say regardless of what it is, you're going to find that your feelings begin to elevate, or you begin to feel better around this particular subject. So that as you are feeling better on this subject, better feeling events begin to come towards you related to that subject. So I'm going to give an example of how I use the pivoting process to help me, not with dating, but something else that was, I would say, more pressing in my life at the time. So I had this manager that was very unpleasant to be around. And the reason I found this manager to be so unpleasant is because he was a very poor communicator. That's something that I really value. I much prefer that someone over communicate with me than underwhelm me with this lack of information. So every time something would happen, I would have these feelings and emotions of frustration, of anger around the fact that I was not getting the kind of communication that I was looking for. And it's like, well, if I want a different result, I must be doing something differently. So what I was doing differently began to be this pivoting, so that if something were to happen, a vital piece of information was not communicated, I would feel myself getting angry. That's where being able to monitor yourself and catch yourself. So I would feel myself getting angry, and then I would just switch to, okay, I could have really used that information. But on the bright side, at least I found out. I found out it wasn't a total disaster. I'm able to rectify the situation. It's not the end of the world. And then as I was having, a variety of other negative thoughts around this person, I would pivot from those negative thoughts. Well, he does have some redeeming qualities. Or whenever something would happen that showed there are these redeeming qualities there, I would milk those for all they were worth. For example, he comes around and he tells me a piece of information that's perhaps not as vital but useful all the same. Thank you. That's really great to know. I really appreciate that. And for my part, I would go and volunteer information and preface it with, at the risk of over communicating, or, I just wanted to keep you in the loop about, X, Y, and Z. So I was doing my part in really cultivating the type of relationship that I was looking for out of this work situation. And over time, because I was training myself to feel a certain way, or training myself away from a certain feeling, what I found was his behavior began to change towards me. Other people would say, he's he's the worst. He's such a poor communicator. He doesn't let us know anything. That was no longer my experience. My experience was, from my perspective, he seemed to be going out of his way to let me know things. And I really do credit it with using that pivoting process of turning my attention and my feelings away from what it was that I did not want towards the things, the behaviors, the emotions that I did want. So it looks like I did get through everything that I had on my notes. And hopefully you made it to the end of the video to at least hear out that process and maybe check it out for yourself and see if it's of any use. If you do use the pivoting process, where you are simply turning your attention away from what it is that you don't want, be it the thoughts or emotions or behaviors, towards those that are pleasurable and make you feel good, come back and let me know. Do comment, do like the channel, do share. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.